Have you ever noticed how naturally we build walls when we are hurt? We don't even think about it. It is like an automatic reflex. We experience a moment of rejection, a sudden shift in someone's tone, or a promise that fell through, and immediately a quiet barrier goes up. It is our pure protective shield designed to keep the world at a safe distance. But over time, we begin to realize that the same walls keeping out the pain are also keeping out the warmth we so deeply crave. We find ourselves standing in a fortress of our own making, feeling incredibly lonely, wondering why love and security seem so far away. When we are young, or even just younger in our experiences of pain, we believe these walls are our friends. We think, if I don't let anyone get too close, they can never see the parts of me that feel small, messy, or broken. So we wear this heavy armor every single day. We wear it to work. We wear it when we sit down at the dinner table with the people we love. And we even wear it when we are completely alone, staring at the ceiling in the dark. We carry the weight of this metal on our shoulders, pretending it is light, pretending we are perfectly fine, while underneath, our shoulders are aching from the sheer effort of holding it all up. Think about how much energy it takes to constantly protect yourself. It is exhausting to always be on guard, always waiting for the other shoe to drop, always trying to read the room to make sure you are completely safe before you say a single word. We do this because we are terrified of being seen and then left behind. We are terrified that if we show our true, undisguised selves, without the accomplishments, without the smiles we force, without the tidy versions of our stories, that people will turn away. But the truth we eventually have to face is that armor does not just keep people out. It keeps us locked inside. It prevents us from feeling the very things that make life feel sweet and meaningful. It stops us from feeling true connection, true joy, and the simple relief of being loved for exactly who we are, right now, in this very moment, without having to perform or prove our worth. We cannot selectively numb our hearts. When we close ourselves off to the risk of pain, we also close ourselves off to the possibility of deep, healing love. If you are standing in that quiet, heavy space today, navigating a season of change, trying to heal from a past that still feels a bit too loud, or simply trying to find your footing on the winding path of self-discovery, I want you to know that you are not alone. It is okay that you built those walls. They kept you safe when you did not know how else to protect yourself. They served a purpose, and you do not have to hate them. But maybe, just maybe, you are starting to outgrow them. Maybe you are starting to realize that you are strong enough now to survive without the heavy iron around your chest. This is a space where you can finally let your guard down, even if it is just for a few minutes. You do not have to have everything figured out here. You do not have to pretend to be strong. Before we begin exploring how to shift from this constant state of self-protection to genuine, deep emotional safety, I invite you to take a slow, deep breath. Let the air fill your chest, and as you let it go, let your shoulders drop just a fraction of an inch. Let us build a supportive, warm community right here, in this very moment, with everyone else who is listening and breathing along with you. Go down to the comments section and leave a simple affirmation of safety for yourself today. You can write, "I am worthy of feeling safe in my own heart." Let that be your very first step toward open doors. Let it be a quiet, honest declaration to yourself that you are ready to start letting the warmth back in. We often tell ourselves that if we can just anticipate every possible disappointment, we will never be hurt again. We become hyper-vigilant, turning our minds into quiet control centers that never truly sleep. We analyze conversations long after they have ended, dissecting every pause, every word, and every shift in a person's eyes, searching for hidden meanings that might warn us of trouble. We plan out our responses to hypothetical arguments, preparing a defense for battles that may never even happen, rehearsing exactly what we will say so we are never caught off guard. We keep our schedules completely packed, bouncing from one task to the next, hoping that if we stay busy enough, our deeper fears won't catch up to us in the quiet of the afternoon. We buy into the quiet belief that if we are perfect, if we are smart enough, and if we are always one step ahead, we can create a life that is completely pain-proof. We look at our relationships, our work, and our daily interactions through the lens of risk management. We tell ourselves, if I don't share this part of my history, they can't use it against me. Or, if I am the first one to pull away when things get quiet, then it won't hurt as badly when they eventually leave. We call this wisdom. We call it survival. We might even look at our skepticism as a badge of honor, a sign that we are too realistic to be fooled by promises or let down by expectations. But this kind of defense is deeply, beautifully exhausting. It is an illusion of control. We think we are protecting our hearts, but what we are actually doing is living in a constant state of preparation for pain. When we treat life as a series of potential threats, we never truly get to experience the beauty of the present. We are so busy scanning the horizon for clouds that we miss the warmth of the sun on our skin right now. We are so occupied with checking for exits that we never actually settle into the room we are standing in. The nervous system cannot distinguish between a real crisis and an imagined one. When we spend our days anticipating rejection, our bodies experience that rejection as if it is happening over and over again. We have to ask ourselves, what is this shield actually costing us? It keeps us safe from the sharp edges of life, yes, but it also blunts the softest moments. It prevents us from feeling the quiet joy of a shared laugh, the relief of letting someone hold us when we are tired, and the deep comfort of being understood without having to explain ourselves. When we refuse to let down our guard, we are essentially choosing a slow, numbing ache over the sharp, brief sting of vulnerability. We exchange the unpredictable weather of real connection for a cold, predictable room where nothing ever changes and nothing ever grows. The perfect shield does not exist, and trying to maintain one only keeps us trapped in the very fear we are trying to escape. Real safety does not come from building stronger walls or becoming better at predicting when the storm will hit. It comes from knowing we can survive the weather. It comes from looking back at your own history and realizing that even on the days you were hurt, even when the ground shook beneath your feet, you found a way to breathe again. You made it to this very moment. You do not need to be indestructible to be safe. You only need to trust that you are capable of holding your own hand through whatever comes next. Letting go of the shield doesn't mean walking into the world defenseless. It means trusting that your worth is not tied to your ability to remain untouched by life. It is realizing that you can experience disappointment. You can feel the sting of a misplaced word, and you can still remain whole. When we stop trying to control how other people receive us, we finally free up the energy we need to love ourselves. We can lay down the heavy metal, take a deep breath of fresh air, and step out into the open, knowing that whatever happens, we are strong enough, soft enough, and resilient enough to find our way back home. When the quiet moments finally arrive and the distractions fade, the discomfort tends to creep back in. Maybe you feel a sudden tightness in your chest while you are sitting quietly in a chair. Or perhaps you feel an overwhelming urge to move, to stand up, to rearrange the books on your shelf, or to pace back and forth across the floor. Anything to avoid the stillness. We are so accustomed to escaping our feelings that sitting with them feels like a threat to our survival. We treat quietness as an empty space that must be filled immediately, because when the room goes quiet, the internal noise of our doubts, our worries, and our unhealed wounds starts to grow louder. We have spent years mastering the art of running. We run into our work, dedicating ourselves to endless tasks, telling ourselves that we are just being productive. We run into our phones, losing ourselves in endless scrolls of other people's lives, trying to drown out the quiet ache in our own hearts with a constant stream of noise and light. We even run into our relationships, trying to fix everyone else's lives so we don't have to look at the messy, untidy corners of our own. We do all of this because the alternative, sitting quietly with our own pain, feels too heavy, too dark, and too dangerous to face alone. But where does all that avoided emotion go? It does not simply vanish. It waits. It settles in our bodies, showing up as a persistent ache in our shoulders, a shallow breath, or a sudden burst of frustration over something incredibly small. When we refuse to sit with our discomfort, we are essentially locking a part of ourselves in a dark room and pretending it isn't there. But the locked door doesn't stop the crying from inside. It only makes us live in constant fear of what will happen if the door ever slips open. We spend so much energy trying to hold the door shut that we forget what it is like to breathe freely. Yet, emotional safety begins when we stop running from our own internal landscape. If we can sit still for just 2 minutes, allowing that nervous energy to exist without trying to fix it, something beautiful begins to change. We start to show our system that we are capable of handling our own difficult emotions. We do not need to turn on a screen. We do not need to scroll mindlessly through social feeds. And we do not need to organize every single folder on our desktop just to find peace. We do not need to call a friend to rescue us from the quiet, nor do we need to plan our next 10 steps. We can simply exist, breathe, and let the storm pass through us. When you sit with your discomfort, you are not validating your fears. You are validating your ability to feel them and survive. You are telling your body, I see you. I feel this heaviness, this anxiety, this deep sadness, and I am not going to run away from you this time. It is like sitting down on the floor next to a crying child. You don't have to give them a long lecture. You don't have to solve their problems in that exact second. And you don't have to tell them to stop. You simply sit there, offering your quiet, steady presence until the tears run dry. This is the gentlest, most profound form of self-love we can practice. It is the moment we stop treating our feelings as enemies to be conquered and start treating them as guests who just need a safe place to rest for a while. The next time you feel that familiar itch to distract yourself, that sudden urge to get up and pace, or that tight knot of anxiety forming in your stomach, try to stay. Just for 1 minute. Close your eyes, place a soft hand on your chest, and take a slow, deep breath. Let the discomfort be there, knowing that it is just a passing cloud in the vast sky of who you are, and that you are entirely safe in the quiet. When we do not feel safe within ourselves, we naturally look to others to provide that safety for us. We want them to say the exact right things, to anticipate our triggers, and to constantly reassure us of our value. We place an incredibly heavy burden on the people around us, expecting them to heal wounds they did not create. When they inevitably fall short, because they are human, intricate, and carrying their own burdens, we interpret their limitations as proof that we are unsafe. We watch their every move, waiting for a sign of distance, a change in their texting habits, or a quiet moment of distraction. And we tell ourselves, see, I am not cared for. I am not secure. We do this because it is so much easier to look outward than it is to look inward. It is easier to ask someone else to fix our loneliness than it is to sit with the empty spaces inside our own chest. We become emotional detectives, constantly scanning our relationships for evidence of reassurance. We want our partners, our friends, or our family members to act as a shield against our own self-doubt. If they love us enough, we think, then maybe we can finally believe we are worthy. If they stay close enough, then maybe the quiet voice inside our head that says we are not enough will finally go silent. But this is an impossible demand. When we make our emotional safety dependent on another person, we are putting our heart in a house we do not own. We are giving away our power, making our peace of mind entirely subject to their mood, their capacity, and their day-to-day life. If they have a stressful day and cannot offer us their full attention, our entire foundation crumbles. We find ourselves trapped in a painful cycle of seeking reassurance, feeling a brief moment of relief, and then immediately needing it again because the underlying hunger was never truly satisfied. To understand why we do this, we can look to the profound insights of Carl Jung, who dedicated his work to understanding the deep, hidden layers of our psychology. He observed a fundamental truth about our human tendency to look outside of ourselves for what we lack within. He wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." This acceptance is terrifying because it forces us to look inward rather than pointing fingers outward. When we demand that others make us feel safe, we are avoiding the deeply personal responsibility of accepting our own vulnerabilities, our own fears, and our own history. We are asking others to love the parts of us that we ourselves reject. We want them to embrace our insecurity while we continue to hate it. We want them to forgive our mistakes while we continue to punish ourselves for them. But genuine safety is not a transaction we can demand from the outside world. It is a foundational warmth we must cultivate internally. Imagine what would happen if, the next time you felt that familiar wave of panic or insecurity, you didn't look to someone else to calm it. What if, instead of sending that text message seeking reassurance or starting an argument just to see if they will fight for you, you stopped? What if you took a deep breath, turned your attention inward, and met your own fear with kindness? It is a scary transition to make. It feels incredibly lonely at first to realize that no one else can carry this for us. But it is also the moment we begin to reclaim our freedom. We stop expecting the people we love to be perfect shields, and we start allowing them to just be human. We realize that their inability to meet our every need is not a sign that we are unlovable. It is simply a reflection of their own human limitations. When we stop demanding that they heal our wounds, we finally give them the space to love us as they are, and we give ourselves the chance to build a safety that no one can ever take away. What does it actually mean to become your own safe harbor? It means changing the way you talk to yourself when you make a mistake, when you stumble, or when you feel completely overwhelmed by the demands of life. Think about how you respond when a good friend comes to you in tears, expressing their deepest insecurities. You do not scold them. You do not tell them they are foolish, and you do not list all of their past failures to prove a point. You do not roll your eyes or tell them to get over it. You listen. You offer a warm, quiet presence. You tell them that it is okay to feel exactly what they are feeling, and you stay with them until the storm in their mind begins to settle. Becoming your own safe harbor means offering that exact same grace, that exact same softness to yourself. It is a slow, beautiful shift in how we treat our own hearts. For most of our lives, we have been conditioned to be our own harshest critics. We believe that if we are not tough on ourselves, we will never grow, or we will keep making the same mistakes. So we police our thoughts, we punish our slip-ups, and we speak to ourselves in a tone we would never, ever use with a person we care about. We treat our own vulnerability as a weakness to be scolded rather than a wound to be tended. But real growth does not flourish in an environment of constant judgment. It flourishes in warmth. When you feel a wave of anxiety rising within you, instead of lecturing yourself to get over it, or asking yourself, what is wrong with you now? You can choose a different path. You can pause, take a deep breath, and say to your own heart, I see that you are scared right now, and that is okay. I am right here with you. It is about changing the inner dialogue from one of constant, exhausting criticism to one of gentle, unwavering companionship. Imagine how your life would change if you knew, with absolute certainty, that no matter how badly you messed up, no matter how much you struggled, and no matter how disappointing the world outside became, you would always return home to a voice of kindness inside your own head. Think about the profound relief of knowing you don't have to hide your mistakes from yourself. You don't have to pretend to be perfect when you are alone in your room. You can simply let your guard down and say, I had a really hard day today, and I did not handle everything perfectly, but I am still worthy of my own love and care. This is not about ignoring our mistakes or avoiding responsibility. It is about creating an internal environment where it is safe to be human. When we know we have a safe harbor within ourselves, we stop fearing failure so much. We stop fearing rejection from the outside world because we know that even if others turn away, we will not abandon ourselves. We become our own ally, our own protector, and our own deepest comfort. The world outside becomes much less threatening when you are no longer fighting a war on the inside. To practice this, we have to start small. It begins in those tiny, quiet moments of daily frustration. When you drop something, when you forget a small detail, or when you feel a sudden surge of insecurity in a conversation, pay attention to the voice that speaks up first. If it is sharp and critical, gently interrupt it. Take a slow, quiet breath. Place a comforting hand over your chest and offer yourself a word of understanding. Treat your nervous system with the same gentleness you would show to someone you deeply love. Over time, these small acts of self-compassion build a solid, unbreakable foundation of inner security. You slowly realize that you do not have to search the world for a place to feel safe. You have carried that sanctuary inside you all along. Many of us have spent our entire lives seeking approval as a form of emotional currency. We learned early on, perhaps when we were very young, that if we were quiet enough, helpful enough, or successful enough, we would be rewarded with love, attention, and safety. We began to believe that our value was something we had to earn, a prize we had to secure by making sure everyone else was comfortable, happy, and pleased with our existence. This pattern turns us into people pleasers, constantly adjusting our personalities, our opinions, and our boundaries to match the expectations of whoever is standing in front of us. We become chameleons, losing ourselves in the process of trying to be everything to everyone. Think about the sheer weight of living this way. Every time you enter a room, your mind silently asks, who do they want me to be? What version of me will make them happy? How can I speak, act, or look so that I am completely acceptable to them? It is a quiet, exhausting performance. We say yes when our entire soul is crying out no. We take on more responsibilities, stretch ourselves thin, and carry burdens that are not ours to bear. All because we are terrified that if we show our limits, we will be met with disappointment or abandonment. We treat other people's approval as a life jacket, believing that without it, we will drown in our own sense of inadequacy. But the truth we eventually have to face is that seeking universal approval is a race with no finish line. People are complicated, unpredictable, and carrying their own unhealed spaces. What pleases someone today might frustrate them tomorrow. When we make our self-worth dependent on their validation, we are putting our peace on a pendulum that swings with every passing mood and opinion. We trade away our authenticity for a temporary, fragile sense of security. We end up feeling incredibly empty because even when people praise the version of us we are projecting, deep down we know they are not praising who we actually are. They are just praising the shield we have built to please them. Unlearning this deep-seated pattern is a slow, delicate, and often painful process. It requires us to sit with the extreme discomfort of letting someone else be disappointed in us. It means saying no when we do not have the emotional or physical capacity, even if it means the other person might feel let down or frustrated. It means standing in your own truth, even when your voice shakes and your heart is beating fast against your ribs. Every time you choose to honor your own boundaries, instead of abandoning yourself to keep the peace, you are making a deposit into your own emotional safety account. You are sending a clear, quiet message to your subconscious that your energy, your time, and your peace are worth protecting, even if it means you do not receive universal applause. Imagine the freedom of no longer needing everyone to agree with you, understand you, or even like you. It does not mean you stop caring about people. It simply means you stop letting their opinions dictate your worth. You realize that someone else's disapproval is not a reflection of your value, but a reflection of their own perspective, their own limits, and their own story. You are allowed to take up space in this world without needing to apologize for it. You are allowed to have boundaries, to rest, and to be human. When you finally stop seeking permission to exist, you open the door to a quiet, steady confidence that cannot be shaken by the opinions of others. You begin to realize that the only approval you have ever truly needed to feel safe is your own. We often think of vulnerability as a weakness, an exposing of our softest parts to a world that might hurt them. We treat it like a flaw in our defense, a crack in our carefully constructed armor that we must patch up immediately before anyone notices. But in reality, vulnerability is the ultimate act of courage. It is the willingness to show up and be seen, even when we cannot control the outcome. It is the act of speaking our truth, expressing our needs, and sharing our feelings without any guarantees of how they will be received. It is stepping out into the open, bare, and honest, and saying, "This is me. I am here, and I am choosing to be real." Think about how much strength it takes to be genuinely vulnerable. It is so much easier to hide behind anger, indifference, or a cool silence. When we are hurt, our natural instinct is to push people away, to lash out, or to pretend that we do not care at all. We tell ourselves that shutting down is a sign of power. But true power does not lie in pretending we are made of stone. True power is having the courage to feel, to admit when we are struggling, and to let others see us in our moments of hesitation and doubt. It is looking at the possibility of being misunderstood or rejected and deciding that living authentically is still worth the risk. Think about a moment when you felt deeply hurt by someone you care about. The protective defense is to shut down, to give them the silent treatment, or to lash out in anger. The vulnerable choice, however, is to step forward and say, "When that happened, I felt really hurt and disconnected." It is terrifying to say those words because the other person might not understand. They might get defensive, they might minimize your feelings, or they might not apologize. But when we find the courage to express ourselves honestly, we reclaim our power. We are no longer hiding in fear. We are standing openly in our own truth. We are choosing to honor our feelings rather than burying them to keep someone else comfortable. When we avoid vulnerability, we also block the path to genuine healing and connection. We cannot build deep, meaningful relationships while wearing a mask. When we present a perfect, untouchable version of ourselves to the world, we prevent people from loving the parts of us that actually need to be loved. We keep ourselves locked in a state of superficial safety, where no one can hurt us, but no one can truly reach us either. It is only when we are willing to drop our guard and show our true, messy, human selves that we can experience the profound relief of being truly seen and accepted. Vulnerability is not about oversharing or spilling our deepest secrets to everyone we meet. It is about being honest with ourselves and with the people who have earned the right to hear our story. It is about taking the risk to say, "I need help," or "I am scared," or "I am still learning how to navigate this." Every time we make the brave choice to be vulnerable, we break down the walls of isolation that fear has built around us. We give others permission to be vulnerable too, creating a safe space where we can all lay down our heavy burdens and simply breathe. It takes immense courage to live with an open heart in a world that often tells us, to close it, but it is the only path that leads to true, lasting emotional freedom. Healing is never a straight line. It is a slow, winding path with days of incredible clarity, followed by days where we feel like we have taken 10 steps backward. We live in a world that is obsessed with major breakthroughs, instant transformations, and overnight success stories. We are told that we must constantly leap forward, that our progress is only real if it is visible, dramatic, and impressive to others. But when you are navigating change, healing from old wounds, or trying to rebuild a sense of safety from the ground up, those giant leaps can feel entirely out of reach. We look at the mountain ahead of us and feel defeated before we even begin, wondering how we will ever find the strength to reach the top. On the days when the old fears return, and we find ourselves wanting to rebuild those old walls, we must practice patience. We cannot force ourselves into safety overnight. We cannot bully our nervous system into feeling secure through sheer willpower. When we try to rush our healing, we only create more tension, more frustration, and more self-doubt. We must honor the tiny, almost invisible steps we take every single day. We must learn to celebrate the quiet victories that no one else will ever see or understand, the moments of self-control, the soft decisions to be kind to ourselves, and the moments we chose to stay present instead of running away. Carl Jung offered another beautiful perspective on the journey of self-creation, reminding us that we are not bound to our past reactions or the patterns we developed to survive. He wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." This choice is not a massive, dramatic leap. It is a quiet decision made in the ordinary moments of life. It is choosing to take a deep breath instead of snapping at a loved one when you feel misunderstood. It is choosing to speak kindly to yourself after a setback, rather than falling back into the familiar pattern of self-punishment. It is choosing to rest when your body is tired, rather than pushing through the exhaustion just to prove you are productive. It is the decision to sit still for just 30 seconds with a difficult emotion before picking up your phone. These small choices, accumulated over days, months, and years, are what slowly reshape our lives, building an unbreakable foundation of inner security. Imagine how much gentler your journey would feel if you stopped measuring your progress by how far you have left to go, and started honoring how far you have already come. Every time you catch yourself in a negative thought and choose a gentler word, that is progress. Every time you feel the urge to hide and instead choose to stay, that is progress. Every time you allow yourself to cry without feeling ashamed of your tears, that is progress. These are not small things. They are the very building blocks of your freedom. We must learn to trust the compounding power of these tiny moments. You do not have to fix your entire life today. You do not have to resolve every insecurity, heal every wound, or establish perfect boundaries by tomorrow morning. You only have to make the next small, loving choice for yourself right now. Be gentle with your pace. Allow yourself to be a work in progress. When we honor the small steps, we show ourselves that our journey is worthy of patience. And we realize that the path to emotional safety is paved not with grand gestures, but with 1,000 quiet moments of choosing to stay on our own side. When you begin to feel truly safe within your own skin, something remarkable happens to your relationships. You stop entering social spaces with a sense of desperate hunger, looking for someone else to fill your cup. Instead, you enter them already full, because you are no longer relying on others to validate your existence or keep your fears at bay. You are free to love them for who they actually are, rather than what they can do for you. You no longer look at the people in your life as shields to protect you from your own insecurities, or as judges who hold your worth in their hands. They simply become fellow travelers on this winding journey, and you are finally free to connect with them from a place of abundance rather than lack. Think about how different it feels to interact with the world when you are not constantly asking yourself, do they like me? Am I doing enough? Are they going to leave? When you carry your own sense of safety, those frantic, anxious questions begin to fade into a quiet, calm silence. You no longer need to shapeshift or perform to earn a place at the table. You can speak your mind with gentleness, listen with an open heart, and share your presence without the exhausting need to control how you are being perceived. You are no longer holding your breath, waiting for someone to give you permission to exist. You are already there, fully rooted and completely alive. This inner security changes the very atmosphere around you. You begin to radiate safety from within. People can feel when they are in the presence of someone who has done the quiet, difficult work of self-acceptance. They can feel the lack of judgment, the absence of hidden agendas, and the genuine warmth that flows from a heart that has learned to love itself. In a world where so many of us are wearing heavy armor and hiding behind thick walls, standing near someone who is comfortable in their own skin feels like sitting by a warm fire on a cold night. It is a quiet, magnetic invitation for others to let down their guard, too. They feel less judged, more accepted, and more at ease in their own skin when they are with you, because you have learned to meet your own messiness with compassion. You naturally offer that same mercy to the people around you. You don't need them to be perfect for you to feel secure. You can hold space for their struggles, their mistakes, and their doubts without taking them personally or trying to fix them. You become a steady, reassuring presence, a lighthouse in the storm, simply by choosing to be a safe place for yourself first. By choosing to heal your own relationship with yourself, you naturally create a beautiful ripple effect, offering a gentle invitation for those around you to do the same. You do not need to give them lectures. You do not need to offer unsolicited advice, and you do not need to show them how to live. Your lives speak for themselves. The way you breathe through difficulty, the way you set gentle boundaries, and the way you treat your own failures with kindness becomes a living example of what is possible. You show them that it is possible to live without the constant weight of fear. You become the very love and safety you once searched for in vain. proving to everyone who crosses your path that the warmth we all crave is not something we have to beg for. It is something we can carry inside ourselves. We often wish there was a final destination in our healing. We want to believe that one day we will wake up and the fear will be entirely gone. The walls will be permanently dissolved, and we will never feel the sting of insecurity again. We look for a finish line where we can finally put our hands on our knees, catch our breath, and say, I am finally done. I am completely whole. But the truth is, embracing emotional safety is not a final peak we climb. It is a continuous, daily choice. It is a lifelong practice of returning home to yourself over and over again. Whenever the world starts to feel cold, unpredictable, or overwhelming. It is a quiet, ongoing conversation between you and your own heart, one that requires your constant presence and your deepest patience. There will be days when the world tests your boundaries in ways you did not anticipate. There will be mornings when you wake up and, for no clear reason, the old anxiety is waiting for you at the edge of your bed. Someone you care about will say something careless. A plan you were excited about will fall through, or you will feel a sudden, cold draft of rejection. In those moments, your first instinct will be to reach for your old armor. You will want to build that quiet wall again, to shut down, to pull away, or to start seeking approval from everyone in the room just to feel okay. And when that happens, it is incredibly easy to feel defeated. We tend to scold ourselves, thinking, I thought I was past this. Why am I still so fragile? Why am I still hurting? But I want you to hear this clearly. Wanting to protect yourself is not a failure. Reaching for your armor is not a sign that you have gone backward. It is simply a sign that you are human and that your system remembers how it used to survive. Healing does not mean you never feel the urge to hide. Healing means that when you feel the urge, you pause, you take a deep breath, and you realize you have a choice. You can look at that heavy, cold armor and say, "Thank you for keeping me safe in the past, but I don't need you to carry me today. I can handle this with softness." You choose to stay open, even when everything in you wants to close. This choice lives in the split seconds of our lives. It is the tiny space between what happens to us and how we respond. It is the moment you choose to stop pacing across the floor and instead sit down and let yourself feel the sadness without trying to fix it. It is the moment you choose to speak to yourself with gentleness after you make a mistake, rather than repeating the harsh, critical words you used to hear. It is the moment you choose to say no to a request that would drain you, even if it means sitting with the uncomfortable fear of someone else's disappointment. These choices are small, they are quiet, and they are usually invisible to the rest of the world. No one will applaud you for taking a deep breath instead of shutting down. But each of these moments is a brick in the foundation of your own safety. By making these continuous choices, You are slowly, steadily becoming the love you always sought from the outside world. You are proving to yourself that you are a reliable partner, a safe harbor, and a steady presence in your own life. You are showing your own heart that it no longer has to beg for acceptance or perform for safety. You are providing those things for yourself right here in the quiet reality of your own body. You are the one holding your hand through the difficult emotions. You are the one offering warmth when the world feels cold. You are the sanctuary you have been searching for. This practice is a lifelong companion. It is not something you have to do perfectly to reap the rewards. Even if you choose safety only half the time, or even a quarter of the time, you are still reshaping your world. You are showing yourself that a different way of living is possible. You are slowly teaching your nervous system that you don't need to live in a constant state of defense to survive. You can survive the weather of your feelings. You can survive the changes, the healings, and the deep, intricate work of self-discovery. So, as we bring this reflection to a close, remember to be patient with your pace. This is a journey of 1,000 tiny returns. Every time you lose your way, every time you build a wall, all you have to do is take a breath and make the choice to return home to yourself once more. Thank you for spending this quiet time with me today, and for investing in your own growth and peace. Keep breathing. Keep choosing yourself. And remember that the safety you seek has been inside you all along. Before you close this space and carry your beautiful, resilient self back into the busy rush of the world, I invite you to linger here in the quiet for just one more moment. Take a slow, deep, intentional breath, letting it fill the deepest corners of your chest, and then releasing it with a long, soft sigh. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the weight of your body, supported and held exactly as you are. You do not have to carry the weight of the entire world on your shoulders anymore. You are allowed to soften. The journey of becoming your own safe harbor is not about never feeling fear again. It is about learning that you are strong enough, gentle enough, and deep enough to hold that fear with love. You no longer have to beg the world to treat you gently, because you have finally committed to treating yourself with the profound, unwavering tenderness you have always deserved. You are stepping out of the heavy armor of the past and into the warm, open light of your own presence. As we parted ways in our chapters, we spoke about the power of our collective voice and the magic of realizing we are not navigating these quiet waters alone. So, let us seal this journey together. Before you leave this space today, take a moment to drop down into the comments one last time and leave a final, grounding affirmation of your truth. Write, "I choose to be the gentle love I seek, and I am safe in my own hands." Let these words be a quiet, sacred promise to yourself. A lighthouse you can look back on whenever the storm tries to roll back in.